So what does it really take to build a company that lasts? I'm not talking about a flash in the pan. I'm talking about an enduring business, one that hits that huge $100 million revenue mark. Well, today, we're going to unpack the blueprint for exactly that.
You know, you don't just start building a skyscraper by throwing steel beams around. It all starts with a plan, a really clear, deliberate one. And that first step, that first line drawn on the page, it literally defines everything that comes after.
So, we're going to walk through the 3 most critical pages of this blueprint. We'll start with the foundation, then move to the engine room, and finally, the command center. Think of this as your guide, taking you from just an idea all the way to a lasting institution. All right, first up, Act 1, the foundation. Seriously, before you write even one line of code or hire your first person, you've got to answer some really fundamental questions. These are the things that will define the very DNA of your company. So, this is the first big choice, and it's all about your relationship to the problem you're trying to solve. Ask yourself, are you an insider, someone who's lived and breathed this problem for years? Or are you an outsider, coming in with a totally fresh set of eyes? Okay, let's really look at the trade-offs. On one hand, an insider, man, they have instant credibility, and they can move super fast. But the downside, they can get serious tunnel vision. On the other hand, an outsider can be incredibly innovative, but they've got this steep, often expensive learning curve to climb. They have to prove they get the market. Just think about the founder of Shopify. He just wanted a better way to sell snowboards online. The key thing here is there's no right answer. It's all about being self-aware and knowing which path you're on.
Okay, next big choice. This one's all about your market strategy. Are you going to innovate on something that's already out there, or are you going to create a brand new category from scratch?
And here's the crucial difference. If you innovate, you're essentially fighting for a slice of a pie that you know exists, right? Customers already have a budget for it. Think about Zoom jumping into video conferencing. That market was already there. But creating a new category, that's like baking a whole new pie. You get the chance to be the undisputed king, but first, you have to convince everyone they're hungry for something they've never even tasted. It's a classic high-risk, high-reward bet.
And, you know, this quote just nails the real challenge here. The initial idea, that's just the spark. To build something that lasts, you need a steady flame of innovation. And that requires a seriously powerful engine to keep it burning. And that brings us perfectly to Act 2, the engine room. Because let's face it, a brilliant blueprint is totally useless if you don't have a sustainable engine to actually power your growth. And believe me, the rules for building that engine have changed dramatically.
So, let's be crystal clear. The whole growth at any cost era, it's dead. It's over. In today's world, investors demand a clear path to profitability. Undisciplined growth isn't a badge of honor anymore, it's a massive liability.
The math that proves your business can actually work all comes down to something called unit economics. It's basically the relationship between what it costs you to get a customer, your CAC, and how much money they'll bring in over time, their LTV. Put simply, does each customer pay you more than it costs to get them in the door? If the answer is no, well, you don't have a business, you have a very, very expensive hobby.
So what are investors looking for? Well, the first big benchmark is this golden ratio 3-to-1. For every single dollar you spend to get a customer, you should be making at least $3 back over their lifetime. That's the sign of a healthy, efficient business that can actually scale.
The second metric that is absolutely critical is your payback period. In other words, how long does it take to make back the money you spent to get that customer? If it's taking you more than 18 months, you're basically funding your customers with a long-term loan. And in a tight capital market, that is a very dangerous game to be playing.
And when you get this engine humming, the results are just staggering. Check this out. The average internal rate of return for top cloud companies on their sales and marketing spend is 68%. That's an incredibly powerful and capital-efficient growth engine at work. It shows you just how much value you can create when the math works.
Which brings us to our final act, the command center. Because look, you can have the most brilliant blueprint and the most powerful engine in the world, but they're nothing without the human element. We're talking about the leadership that brings the whole thing to life and gets a team excited to build it right alongside you.
You know, Harry Truman once said, "Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers." And that really is the foundational mindset here. The world just changes way too fast for any founder to think they can rely only on what they already know. The best ones, they're lifelong learners, constantly sharpening their tools to navigate the absolute chaos of building a company.
And one of the most critical areas for any leader to learn is communication. I mean, how you talk to your team, it determines everything. There's this great lesson from the book Radical Candor that puts it perfectly. You don't have to choose between being a pushover or a jerk. The key is to be kind and clear at the same time. That balance, that's what builds trust, and that's what drives real results.
But here's the thing. Great leadership isn't just about big, grand speeches. It's built in the tiny daily interactions. This idea comes from Atomic Habits, which teaches us that remarkable results come from mastering tiny behaviors. And that's exactly what a great company culture is, right? It's the sum of thousands of little, positive actions repeated day in and day out.
So, when you boil it all down, the leader's playbook is about a few key things. You've got to inspire your team to take ownership and actually love what they do. You have to unify everyone and stamp out gossip. You need to handle money smartly, and you have to hit your goals. These aren't just feel-good ideals. They're the practical, everyday actions that turn a paper blueprint into a real, breathing company.
So, there you have it. That's the complete blueprint for an enduring company. It starts with a solid foundation built on those smart early choices. Then you need a powerful, efficient engine that runs on sound economics. And finally, you tie it all together with a clear command center, driven by great leadership. Every single part is essential if you want to build something that truly lasts.
Okay, you've got the architect's blueprint right in front of you. So the only real question left is, which page are you going to write first? Are you going to start with the foundation of your idea, the economics of your engine, or the principles of your leadership? The choice is yours.